Jessam is a professor at York University. Okay, all he does, he looks at 600,000 pupils every single year who go through the Key Stage 2 tests. And he maps their progress. For 15 years we've had SATs now, 16 years. We have got a statistical proof for the last 16 years. Well, what does a level 4.5 kid do in this country? What does a level 4 kid do? What does a level 3 kid do? Obviously, level 3 kids do not do as well as level 5 kids from primary. You can map that. It's simple mathematics. Okay? Because you all know, most of you will be clever pupils who went to a decent school and you were in upper sets yourself. I was. And that carries on from day one when you were separated in primary school and put that little table where the clever kids sat. That has carried on all the way through your school life. You're probably in set 1 when you're at high school. You then went on to a good university, etc., etc. That is your graph on most people who are in education. Okay? So obviously, you've got these figures. All right? Any questions at the moment? So Jessam, what he actually does is he adds up maths, English and science, although this one, I'm not quite 100% happy with it, but anyway, because the teacher marks it, and he multiplies that by 2, okay, to get what's called the average point score, APS. All right, anybody know what the average point score for a kid is in the country? Anybody any idea? Okay, work it out for me then, what I've told you so far. If national average is 4.5, what's the national average for APS?
27.
Say again, miss?
27.
Bravo, you get a brownie point off me. You get a brownie point off me. She's added up the 3 subjects. If they came in as a perfect student, averaging all 3, it very rarely happens, 4.5, 4.5, multiply it by 2, your average nationally is 27. Okay, and what you can actually draw is a graph like that. Classic Bell graph. You've got a massive number of students in this country, not just in this school, who are in the middle. You've got some students who are in special schools because they cannot cope with the secondary curriculum, who do particularly badly if they've even been able to sit that examination. You've also got the very top end of students, right at the end there. So if you went into Manchester Grammar School, that's where every single kid is going to be sitting, because they look at the SATs results and they also do an intake qualification as well, okay, plus an interview. So they're all going to be at that end. So therefore, it's no surprise that they get 100% A to Cs. Well, what a surprise, because they're already starting at this upper level and they haven't got as far to go. Okay, so that's what Jessam does. He doesn't look at any deprivation factors. They're already factored in from Key Stage 2 results. And you can quite carefully map that. So I've got some information for you here. This is currently year 9. Those who have year 9. This is available, simplified version. Okay? So if you look at the first, just look at the first one. Don't try and look at that kid who annoys you in your class. Try and look at the first one. Strangely enough, what band do you think we've put him in? What set? Just looking at his results. Top set. Why?
Because he's got all over level 5 and everything, which is stage 2. The Jessam data says 5, which I assume
It's high ability.
is high ability.
Okay. And anything else you can see on that data?
He's gifted,
Yeah, he's gifted and talented. Why do we put him on the gifted and talented register? What else is on there? Tells us that he's a bright lad. What are those last numbers? Anybody any idea? They're CAT information. So I look at the very end one, for example, the average CAT score, the mean SAS, standard something or other. I'm not even interested what it means. But those are your CAT scores. So the national average is 100. All right? But he's particularly good at quantitative, which is maths. All right? He's way above average. It's like an IQ test, CATs, but it's something which backs up, particularly kids who come in with English as a second language. The CAT results finds me a lot of truths about the intelligence of a kid. All right? It's just that they can't often do the literacy aspect to it. but they can do IQ tests.
Where does
Particularly.
that data come from?
All right. At the start of year 7, they do a CATS test within the
Right.
first few weeks, and then we get the results after probably October half term, and then we reset in October half term straight after that. All right. So you can see there. Jesson breaks it. Again, I apologise for the mess I'm creating. Jesson breaks it into a number of quintiles based on APS. You all see this, is that all right? That's what happens. That's the Key Stage 2 results. Most people are average students, okay? Some people are above average nationally. This isn't within Hereford. Some students are high ability students. Obviously, some are low ability students, so below average ability, and some are very low ability students. And you can see that on your breakdown of your results there. So is a high ability student, high nationally. He's in competition with everybody who is high ability to go to college, to go to university in all local schools. We're doing him a disservice if we aim for C's and B's for him, because he is upper ability student who needs to be getting A's mostly, maybe with a couple of B's. Yeah, because he's going to go on to A levels and then he's going to go on to a good university. Yeah, that's what we're going to be aiming from day one, as soon as they walk through the door. So the very upper ability students get taught a very distinctive curriculum from day one, very academically rigid curriculum. They'll go on to do the English Baccalaureate, etc. And you can see that down there, all the way down that one column, you've got if they're a high ability student, an average student, a low student, etc. Okay? We've separated it further. Next to that is, average is quite a big spread. If you're high average, you're closer to high average, so you're closer to above than you are to low average. So even your high average people have got quite a bit of ability. They're above average, just about. So you can start targeting those students within your class as well. What you're actually getting, when you've got a class in front of you, you've not got a massive spread. So your upper ability class, your set 1 are going to be high or above students. Your set 5s are going to be low or below students. There's no separation there. It's very distinctly spread out there in your classes. If there are any anomalies, all right, it's because I've not spotted them, to be bluntly honest, and I've missed it. But it's all based on that. So you might have quite a lot of lazy boys in your class in particular. Nationally, a gender gap is a problem. Number one, why is that? We've got to ask, is there something wrong with the academic system? Is there something wrong that predominantly primary school teachers are females? Okay? We've got to ask some questions. Why do boys do a lot worse than girls? They're not more stupid. That's impossible. Like, evolution sounds stupid if that was the case, doesn't it? So you've got to ask yourself, why is there that gap? Is there something wrong with the way that they do exams and the educational system? Okay? But you've got to look at it. Not in all subjects they don't do as badly. Why is that the case? But we've got to start looking at this now. Is, what you need to look at then, as well as that, you've also got Key Stage 2 information. It's no good to know a kid is level 4. That isn't good enough for you. Especially if you're an English or a maths teacher, you need to know, well, is the kid a level 4.1 or is the kid a level 4.9? That's a big difference. That's nearly a year's education there. Different. So if a kid is a level 4.9, I'm now going to be targeting that kid a level 6 or a level 7 at Key Stage 3. If he comes in with a 4.1, I'm targeting that student maybe a level 5 at Key Stage 3. Or I'm targeting them again, 4.9, I'm targeting them an A, maybe a B at Key Stage 4, 4.1, I'm targeting them a grade C. Okay? But then you put in your professional slant on it because you know them, you've had discussions with colleagues as well. Is that person a hard worker? Has that person got good attendance? Etc, etc. And that's where your professional judgment comes in then. Okay? But these figures do not lie. All he does, Professor Jesson, is follows and maps the progression of students. Okay? And any school that you go to is a member of the SSAT. It's 83% of schools now. You can actually go on individual classes and track, well, what did kids in my class, what would they have got nationally? And you can actually go on the computer and actually see, and that will set you a target based on average, and average only. 50% of kids will do better than that, 50% of kids will do worse. Okay? So what you need to be doing is very specific, and looking at that, you can quite clearly see which subject is best at. Maths. Okay, he's not quite as good at English, but he is absolutely nearly, well, not genius, but extremely, extremely bright at maths. Extremely bright. Okay? And anything less than a level, you know, he's coming into year 7, if you're throwing him level 5 work at him, it's too easy for him. So even within a class, you can start to differentiate your teaching based on that, knowing that Dylan and some of the others are very, very bright at maths. But his English isn't quite as good. So you're actually saying, okay, if I'm his English teacher or I'm his history teacher, for example, I've got to be slightly different. I'm a box clever. Okay? There are some students, I'm just looking down the list myself, who will have very, very strange results. Let me see if I can find you one. It's pretty even, these going down. Can you find any weird results looking at those? Trying to find any.
Lewis Charlton's got 4.5 in science and then 2.2 and 3.3.
Right, a 2.2 is normally because they've not attended, but you can start to see, yeah, what's his name, Lewis? What's his surname? It's probably because he didn't attend one of them. I'm just trying to find you one that is, they have sat the exam.
Joe McDonough, who I've got in 9A, he's got 2.9 in English, then 4.5 in maths,
So
and 4.7 in
Yeah, so straight away, if you teach who's got very low literacy skills, hasn't he? You can start to see that straight away there's problems there. But you need to know that data. Don't be surprised if you're teaching these kids. You know, whatever job you get next year, wherever you get, you need these over the summer holidays. You need these before the end of the term. You want to be prepared for that day one to know that kid and actually saying, I know that struggles with his English because he's been very weak in primary school. I'm not going to sit there and give him a textbook and expect him to read it because he's going to kick off and he's going to start having a go because he cannot access that work. Whereas if you do some verbal mathematics with him, he'll be there. All right, and everybody teaches 7E. There's lots of kids in 7E at the moment who are very good, the boys, mental maths and doing the maths work, but absolutely shocking at getting stuff down on paper and reading and writing. So you've got to start looking at the strengths and characters, what I call spikes in the profile of the students, to plan your lessons accordingly. And you start looking at that data. Okay? Obviously, we do it as a school. What we will try and do then behind the scenes is offer one-to-one tuition for students who particularly have these spikes. Okay? SEN, additional help, etc. Getting them into the correct courses on pathways. All right? So if you've got a student with a level 3 in their English, you're going to have to be thinking, is history a suitable GCSE for them? Probably not, unless they're really, really interested and they want to go for it. So what I'm trying to say here, data is really, really vital for you. Okay? First of all, it's the way that you as an individual teacher are going to be judged. Let's be bluntly honest with you, based on results. Okay? Now, we're not saying you've got a class of an 11 set 3 in front of you, you're expected to get A's. If the senior manager is going to say that, they're going to say that's ridiculous. That's just a stupid senior manager. But if you've got a set 3 and I know, you know, how many level 4s you've got there in an English faculty, for example, I'm expecting you to probably get level 4s. 63% of students get a grade C, level 4 English. 61% in maths. So straight away, I know if you're a level 4 and you're only coming in with 10, 15, 20%, there's a problem within that lesson. Okay, and I'm going to start questioning what is that teacher doing in that lesson. Okay, and that's what, you know, that's how we raise aspirations. We've got to raise staff aspirations to raise the kids' aspirations. Okay, and that's what we're looking at. That discussion will also go with the student. So we do things like a student conference here where we discuss these results with the students and they know precisely their FFTD target and their GESM target, yeah, and they know what they should be able to achieve.